world. I'd like to start out by asking each of you to give very brief answers to this question. What did you want to do when you were 16 years old? Nick, we'll start with you.
Have friends was probably the number one answer. I had more computers than friends, so I was working on the friend part. But in a work context, I honestly, I loved business. My dad was an entrepreneur, so I wanted to do something in the business world. I didn't know what shape it would take, but something in the business world.
And Nick went on to Harvard and then got your computer science degree, master's from Harvard as well, right? Okay,
right.
Then we'll get into what you're doing. But okay, Linden, what about you?
Sure, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. Turned out to not actually come true. I wanted to be a 3D animator and work in games and movies. There was something about the mix of technology and art that was just super, super enticing. In fact, it's what brought me out here to Silicon Valley in the first place. So yeah, I did it briefly, electronic arts, but quickly moved on from there and got interested in design and engineering, and the rest is history, I guess.
And the rest is history. Okay, great. Tracy?
I wanted to be Frank Lloyd Wright and Picasso at the same time. I wanted to be a builder, I wanted to be an amazing painter, and
Wow.
it's worked out okay for me. So.
Do you paint today?
I do.
You do? Interesting. Didn't know that about you. I thought I researched you thoroughly. Payal.
So dance has been a really big part of my life since I was 3 years old. So I really wanted to sort of take on the Indian dance world, very similar to Alvin Ailey did with African American dance. When I was younger, I actually built a diorama of Payal's Palace of Arts, and it had an ice skating rink and a stage. And so my mom always said, of course, you were going to do stuff with your passion, and that's what I've always been doing.
Interesting, fascinating. Philip?
I was one of those nerdy kids that's read like the Wall Street Journal since middle school, and so I think at that time was still admiring, I think that was in the middle of kind of the dot-com boom and admiring kind of the finance side of it, and still thought that was a glorious part of the business world to be in, and so I think that's what I was focused on.
So the reason I asked that question is because the best startups, we've learned, have arisen from personal passions. And you two, you sort of are the generalists, I think, with if this, then that, or IFT, as we call it, for shorthand. I think that did grow out of your experience, your love of gaming, and so Tracy, you didn't end up becoming a famous Picasso or Frank Lloyd Wright, but you were a field engineer out there, and your company, PlanGrid, really grew out of a personal passion, as did yours, Payal, I think. So I want to ask you three specifically about the sort of personal situation that prompted the creation of your company. So anybody start?
Happy to start. So I was sitting at my desk, I had a corporate job, I was working at Warner Music Group, and I was studying ballet on the side, right? And still pursuing my passion, but also making sure that, I had a career and that I was advancing in that. And I went online to look for a ballet class that I wanted to try, and was miserably frustrated with the experience. I mean, I was sitting there and I was wondering why I just couldn't find the place I wanted at the time I wanted it and just get there very quickly and once again reserve it in one click. Very similar to Seamless Web, OpenTable, ZocDoc, and this was 6 years ago. And that was sort of my moment where I realized it wasn't even just the information gap, but when I looked around at so many of my friends who had given up on their passions and the things that they used to love to do in their life, I just felt like I had to fix that. I wanted everyone to find what I had in dance, and I kept pursuing dance, but most people gave it up, and I felt like I just needed to build a product that really got people back to working out, back to the things that they loved in their life.